Okay, welcome to the worksheet number 7 video, getting ready for our factoring test. The biggest thing I'm going to say here at the beginning is that I need you, please, to watch, here we go, look for the greatest common factor. Every single problem. Sometimes it's going to come into play, sometimes it won't. If we look at this first problem, number 21, we're looking for the greatest common factor between 28 and 70. Best way to do this is to look at the smaller number. And you start playing around with factors of 28. So as you do this, you start looking at what numbers go into 28 and 70. Well, 28 doesn't go into 70. But if I just go down to the next biggest factor of 28, that's 14. 14 does go into 70. So I have 14, and then I can actually take an x out as well. And then I have the setup on the inside as a binomial with a plus sign. So 14x times 2 gives me 28, and then I'm missing an x on the inside here, so x times x is x squared. And then we try to fill in this slot here, and that would actually be a 5, because 14 times 5 is 70. And then x is good, but we're missing a y, so we have to put a y in there. So this one we just took out a GCF. We always want to try to go further. But there's a binomial in here with a plus sign, and the only time we go further with these is if it's a minus sign and perfect squares, difference of perfect squares, and it's not there. Okay, moving on to number 2, we're going to have a GCF, and then we're going to have a blank plus another blank. So now we need to find the biggest number that goes into 24, 36, and 60. Well, I look at the smallest number, 24. 24 does not go into 36. The next biggest factor of 24 is 12. 12 does go into each of those numbers. So I know right then that I'm going to take a 12 out. And now I investigate the variables. I have a squared, a cubed, a cubed. I have to take the same amount out, but I want to take the most possible. So that's why I'm going to take an a squared out. Looking at the b's, I do not have any b's in this middle term, so I can't take any b's out for my greatest common factor. All right, now I'm going to distribute that back through. So I do the numbers first. 12 times 2 would give me 24. A squared, I'm not missing any a's, but I'm missing all of the b's. So I have to put b cubed in that first slot. And then going through to the middle term, 12 times 3 is actually 36. And then a squared to a cubed, I'm missing one of the a's. And then 12 times something to give me 60. So that's actually 5. And I understand I'm getting these quick. You might have to play around on a calculator to come up with these. Some of you would like to do 60 divided by 12 to actually come up with the 5. That's fine. But I've got an a squared here, and I'm trying to get to a cubed, so I'm one short. I got to get an a in there. And I'm trying to get to b. There's no b's in the GCF, so I got b there. Okay, so now what I have here on the inside is a trinomial. This is a very goofy looking trinomial with the AB term and the B cubed. If you have a trinomial that looks more like number 5 down here, or number 6, then you would try to go further with it. But on these two problems, we're just looking to take a GCF out, and that's it. Okay, now moving on to number 3. Hopefully by now you're seeing that there's 4 terms, and these are those grouping ones. I cannot take a GCF out, even though I'd like to try, of the entire problem. I can take a GCF out of just the first 2 terms. So that GCF is actually 8, and then I can take n squared out. 8 goes into both those numbers. So then on the inside here, I'm going to have 6, and I need an n, and I actually have to subtract 1 and close it off, and now that would actually be the GCF out of the first 2 terms. Now it's a little goofy on the second one because there's not a big GCF here, just 1, but I want the inside to be 6n minus 1. So actually I'm going to, instead of putting a plus 1, I'm going to take a minus 1 out front here. And then on the inside, if I put a 6n, negative 1 times 6n is that negative 6n. And then I would actually have to put a minus 1 on the back end. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. So the big thing is I want to try to get these to match, and knowing that could help me with my GCFs. Okay, to finish this problem now, what we do is we got to get the 2 binomials set up, Don't stop where we are here. Go continue on. And then if you look here, I'm circling the greatest common factor of the first one, the greatest common factor of the second one, and I put those together and I get 8n squared minus 1. And then in the back part here, we just take that common binomial. They both have a 6n minus 1, so you just put that in the back end. And don't forget, on problems 1 and 2, you can distribute to see if you have the right answer. And now on number 3, we can FOIL to see if we have the right answer. Okay, moving along a little quicker now. Number 4, we do want to do the same thing, the grouping. There is no GCF of the whole problem. And actually, I can only take an a squared out of the first 2 terms. So that's going to be a 7a plus 6 on the inside. And I would love to have that in my second one, and it does work out when we take a 5 out. So if I take a 5 out, I will have a 7a plus 6 inside. Remember, 5 times 7a, 35a. 5 times 6, 30. So it all works out. Now we don't finish here. We actually go to the 2 binomials now. And we finish by putting the GCFs together. We have a squared plus 5. And then the common binomial term there is the 7a plus 6. Most of you are smiling at this point because you like those grouping ones. Good. All right, now we're transitioning down to the trinomials, to the guess and check type problems. So when I look here, I immediately look for a GCF. There is no GCF for that problem. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to realize, all right, that means I'm going to set this up into my 2 parentheses, or 2 binomials, and I'm going to highlight here where you should be looking first. You should be looking right there first. That is the first place you should look on this problem. The minus sign means there's going to be 1 of each sign, a plus and a minus. And now with these, you guys haven't been struggling too much. There's a 1 as our leading coefficient here, so that means we're going to put an x and an x in this problem. Okay, I'm going to switch colors for the back end. There's supposed to be factors of 63. Well, to list out all the factors of 63, you'd be like, all right, 1 and 63, divided by 2, that doesn't work. Divided by 3, I get 21. And I just start playing around with the factors of 63. Find them all, start plugging them in. If I try the 3 and the 21, if I just put those in there, it might work, it might not. But now you have to FOIL the problem to find out. Now, I've been teaching you that OI is really the important part to check. Now, please understand, you must be actually getting the signs correct and the factors correct for OI to be the only thing you have to check. But when I check OI here, I get negative 21x and I get a positive 3x. When I combine those together, I'm getting a negative 18x. That is exactly what we want on the middle term there. So that tells me that I have done this problem correctly, and it's x plus 3 times x minus 21. Moving on to number 6, another one where we're going to guess and check. Definitely check that GCF first. There isn't one, so I'm going to go right into my guess and check here. If I look at that sign first, let's not forget this sign first here, excuse me, is negative. So that tells me that I'm going to have a positive and a negative. And now 2w squared. That's actually not a bad one to have because the only factors are 2 and 1. So we put a 2w and a w. Factors of 35 that are real close together, I'm just going to try 5 and I'm going to try 7 and I'm going to see how that works. So now I'll switch colors here. In green, I'm going to actually do the outside, negative 14w. And then I'm going to do the inside, positive 5w. And this combines to negative 9w. We're trying to get positive 3w here, so that doesn't work. So all that means is that it didn't work. I guessed, I checked, it didn't work. So I'm going to undo all of this green writing here. And I'm going to go back and say, all right, 7 and 5 did not work. So let's try something different here. Factors of 35 that could work here. Really, 5 and 7, and the only other one would be what? Oh, well, we could switch the terms. We tried 5 and 7. How about 7 and 5? Switch them around here. Okay, well, let's see if that works. Here I'm getting negative 10w, and then I'm getting a positive 7w, which combines to negative 3w. I'm almost excited here. I'm trying to get positive 3w. I have negative 3w. So hopefully you remember what that means is just switch the signs. So I'll do that in green here so you can see that means this negative is actually going to become a positive, and this positive is actually going to become a negative. So 2w minus 7, w plus 5 here is the correct answer to this problem, because that'll change these signs to a positive there, negative there, positive here, and that's exactly what we wanted. All right, moving right along with these trinomials. Number 7, there is no GCF, so I'm going to go right into my guess and check. Again, a negative sign. This is the third one in a row, so a plus and a minus. Hey, the A out front looks really nice, A and A. And then factors of 80. 1 and 80, 2 and 40. We just go through our list and try to find some here. So what I mean by that, and I'll show you in the calculator, is I just do 80, and start dividing by numbers. Divide by 2. All right, 40. 2 and 40 work. Take 80, divide by 4. All right, I get 20. Take 80, divide by 5. I got 16. And those are actually the two that end up working for this problem. If I put a 16 right here and a 5 right there, the outside is negative 5a, and the inside is positive 16a, which combines to that 11a is what we're looking for. Now remember, I'm showing you the solutions, I'm showing you the answers. You might actually check a bunch more factors that don't work until you find these two that do work, okay? Now, here it is. Ding, 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 ding. Be careful here. G, C, F. I've been talking about this the whole time so that when we get to number 8, we don't fly past it and try to do guess and check right away. What is the number that goes into 12, 60, and 75? Well, you only really have to look at 12. So I'm going to show you how I do this. I'm going to take 12 and see if it goes into 60. Well, 60 divided by 12 actually is 5, so it does work. But if I take 75 and divide by 12, it doesn't go into that one. So what I'd like to do is try 6, because the next highest factor of 12 is 6. Problem is 6 isn't going to go into 75. 75 divided by 6, that's no good. So then 4. When I try 75 and I try to divide it by 4, still doesn't work. So the next highest factor of 12 to check would be 3. And when we take 75 and divide by 3, we're going to see that that works out. So actually you can take a 3 out. So if I take a 3 out, I'm going to be left with 4x squared minus 3 times 20x. And then I'm going to have plus 25 on the back end. All right, so here's the deal. We pull the GCF out, but it's not done yet. We took the GCF out, now we have a trinomial here. And what we want to do is try to factor that by looking at this sign first. Keep the 3 going. I can't stress that enough. Keep the 3 going, but now try to factor that there. So the signs are going to be minus and minus. Okay, we know that because this plus means both the same, both negative. And then if we check 2x and 2x, because we want to make that 4x squared there, and actually check 25's factors that are close together, 5 and 5. When we do outside and we do inside, they each come out to negative 10x, which is negative 20x, which is exactly what we're looking for in this problem. Okay, I want to be very clear here. We're getting better at this, but right here, you got to have that 3 out front in order for this to be the correct answer. Okay, making progress. 2 more problems before we'll stop the video on page 1. Trinomial, no GCF. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up a problem. It does have 2 variables, so we'll be careful here. But there are a positive sign here means both sides are the same. So then I look right here and I see that there's a plus. Again, if you use the hints here, 25 may be scary to you, but the factors that are closest together are 5x and 5x. Those make 25x squared. 64 is actually a perfect square. So if I put 8y and 8y in the back, I get 64y squared. And then if I do the outside, if I do the outside and the inside, I get 40xy, and then on the inside I also get 40xy for a grand total of 80xy, and that's the middle term. So using your teacher's hints, you will get this on the exact first guess if you're using those hints. Okay, now here's the deal. I went a little fast there. You do want to check for the GCF. I just knew that there was no GCF for this problem, so I just kind of went into it here. Okay? Number 10, check for a GCF. Look right at the number 31. That's a prime number. It has no factors other than 1 and 31, so we definitely can't take a 4 out or a 2 out. So this is going to be set up like so. You know, if you're using my hints here, we're going to start with 2y. Sorry, I got to back it up here. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the minus sign, which means we're going to have a plus and a minus, and that's what you should do first. Okay? Now, factors of 45 that are close together, it looks like 5 and 9, right? So 5 and 9 on the back end. And then, sorry, to finish this 4y squared, we should have a 2y and a 2y. All right, so looking at this problem, we have 2y, 2. We're all set up good. Let's just try the outside, inside. Negative 18y outside, positive 10y inside. That's definitely not combining to 31y. So I'm going to back it up here, and I'm going to realize that we don't try the 9 and the 5. Okay, so remember we had a 9 here, and we had a 5 here. Isn't that what we just checked? But then if we switch them, and I might have had those backwards, but either way, just think about switching these isn't going to change much because we have the 2 and the 2. So we really got to go to other factors of 45 here. And actually, if you divide 45 by 3, you get 15. So if I do a 15 here and a 3 here, we might be able to get the answer. Okay, outside, negative 6y. Inside, positive 30y. Grand total, still not 31y. All right, so we're getting a little frustrated now that we can't find this, but that's okay. Just know that there's a lot of options. We could try 45 and 1. But I think as you start trying 45 and 1, you see that that's going to be a little bit too large. If we put a 45 here and a 1 there, we're already at 90y in the inside. That's way too high. So here's the deal. Maybe this isn't working at all. And we need to start thinking about the other options for the first one, 4y squared. You could do 4y and y. Remember, we're still going to have a plus and a minus. All right, but let's try that 5 and 9 again. Let's see if those work. 5 and 9 could work with this different setup of 4 and 1. So what we do is the outside, negative 36y. Inside, positive 5y. We're getting way happier here. Negative 31y. Almost perfect. Okay, look at this. I'm going to highlight this. We have a negative 31y. We want a positive 31. So what do we got to do? We have to switch these signs here. Whoops, sorry, not way back up there, but switch these signs right there. So I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to do just that. This positive here is going to be gone, and this negative's gone. So positive negative is actually going to turn into a negative positive. Okay, so we got 4y minus 5 and y plus 9. And that, finally, that took forever, is the correct answer. Okay, go back and rewatch any of those problems. Rewind them and watch them again if you're struggling with those. But I'm going to go make video number 2 now.